I'm going to do it a little different. I'm going to have each of them take their turn one at a time up here. We had a last-minute request to attend, and we're going to accommodate. But let me, first of all, let Rebecca Warren come up here first. And I'd ask her to do the same as the other candidates. I had hoped to have 7 minutes for each of the candidates for Supreme Court, but we're squeezing time. If they have a 7-minute series of remarks, go ahead. But if they held it to 5, they do me a favor, but that's up to them. So, Rebecca, may I just say that she is a district attorney from Montour County. She is experienced at federal, state, and local levels. And she has 24 years experience in criminal and civil law. And with that, I'll let her tell you the rest of her story. Thank you.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. I wanted to let you know that obviously candidates get up here and basically give their resume. I'm going to do that very quickly because I really want to get into the motivating factor for my run. I have been practicing law for 24 years. I have practiced in over 26 counties in Pennsylvania when I was doing civil litigation work. From the time that I graduated from law school, I hit the ground running. I was in the courtroom every single week, and I continued to do that for the last 24 years. I was a small business owner, had my own law firm, struck out on my own after I had been doing very well in another private firm. And I worked as an assistant district attorney in a neighboring county, authoring the first child abuse protocol while I was in that position. And the importance of that protocol was to minimize trauma to child victims, particularly those who have been victims of sex assaults. After I was done with the assistant district attorney position, that is when I opened up my own law firm, and I was doing all types of civil litigation and civil practice. So 24 years ago, I found myself practicing in the justice system. And it's an exciting time, when you graduate from law school and you get to start practicing and you're actually in the courtroom helping people. And then, unfortunately, I experienced a family tragedy. Several years ago, my father and my brother were killed by a reckless driver. And unfortunately, the individual who killed them had connections in the county where the incident occurred. And as a result of that, she was not going to be prosecuted. As an assistant district attorney and as an attorney knowing the justice system, I was in shock and disbelief. I had lost my dear father and my brother, and my family was not going to receive justice. So it was at that point that I devoted my time to researching the case, hiring my own accident reconstructionist, and going relentlessly to the district attorney's office to argue my case on behalf of my family. And I'm pleased to say that 18 months after that ordeal started, the woman was charged and she pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 2 counts of homicide by vehicle. As you can imagine, that completely changed my perspective, not only with regard to the justice system, but also my life. And I realized that I had a higher calling, and I felt that God was leading me to community service, being a public servant. And so when I was approached to run for district attorney, I believed that that's what I was supposed to do. So I ran, and in a county that's approximately 50% Democrat, 50% Republican, I won with 78% of the vote. And I consider it an honor every day to go to work and fight for justice for victims and for my community. Now another door has opened, that of Supreme Court. As you probably know, there are 3 Supreme Court positions available this year. It's an historic time in our Commonwealth. Not since 1704 have we had 3 seats available at the same time. Unfortunately, the reason 2 of those 3 seats are available is because of misconduct and impropriety on the part of the justices who were ultimately removed from their positions. So now I'm asking for your vote because I want to restore integrity to Pennsylvania Supreme Court, and I want to ensure justice for everyone in Pennsylvania. So on May 19th, when you go to the polls, I would ask for your vote so that we can restore integrity to the bench and ensure justice for all. Thank you.
Okay, make a slight change in the program now. Up to now, I could talk to people on a first-name basis, but now I'm going to be introducing a real judge, so I'm going to defer the first-name introductions. But Judge Cheryl Allen is going to be our next speaker, who is also running for the Supreme Court, and by the way, is one of the two that are running on the Republican ticket. The common pleas judges cross-file, but the Supreme Court cannot. But Judge Cheryl Allen, we like to say that law is colorblind, and in this case, we can safely say that because Cheryl Allen was the first black woman that was elected to the Superior Court, where she now presides. And prior to that, she taught elementary school before practicing law for 15 years, and served on the Court of Common Pleas for 17 years, as these gentlemen earlier were trying to get that job. So with that in mind, she's a lifelong resident of Pittsburgh, and I would now like to introduce Judge Cheryl Allen.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I am happy to be here tonight, and I just want to deviate a little bit from the protocol and talk about our court system and my concerns. Some time ago, the Philadelphia Inquirer asked me what I thought was the greatest impediment to justice in our court system. And having served in the court system as a judge for 25 years, I answered without hesitation. The greatest impediment to justice, I told them, is politics. That's simply what it is. Politics, after all, is the practice of influencing others, the art of achieving power and control. It's a culture of cronyism, backroom deals, and privilege, all of which, when present on the court, raise the promise of justice for all. Justice is impartial, justice is blind, justice is fair, and justice is non-partisan. And justice is for everyone. Therefore, it cannot exist in the same space with politics. And therein lies its promise. The Supreme Court is the last chance for those seeking the promise of justice. Its justices are commissioned to be the protectors of that promise. But many believe that because of politics, justice is broken in Pennsylvania. And because of it, we are often characterized as the laughing stock of the nation. But it is not at all funny. In fact, it is incredibly tragic. Politics should not have an office or even so much as a maintenance closet in the halls of justice. But by its very nature, politics, if we're not careful, will move in, as it has in our Supreme Court and throughout our justice system, from every level. Its nature is to move in, expand, and take control. In many ways, politics is like a virus. But when it infects the halls of justice, we cannot blame politics or its politicians. Its job is to try to get in. But it's our job as judges and justices to keep it out. It's our job to uphold the law and the Constitution above all. to protect our religious freedom, to protect our Second Amendment rights to bear arms, and to protect the right to life, and to recognize that all human life matters, born and unborn. We do not have to be broken. We can be whole. And we can protect the promise of justice for all. If we refuse to allow politics to set up office in the halls of justice, if we elect justices who have the courage to honor the law and the Constitution above all else, above political parties, above what is politically expedient, and above what is popular, then the Supreme Court will again be a place where the promise of justice exists, not just for those who are politically empowered, but for everyone. That's why I'm running for the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. And if you will give me the honor, I will serve as I have for the last 25 years, with bold courage and unwavering commitment to constitutional justice for all. Thank you, and God bless you.
Okay, thank you, folks. Now I ask each of them to stand by here so we can ask any questions anybody might have for a couple of minutes. So is there anyone here with a question for the Supreme Court candidates? While he's traveling, here comes one. I see a waving hand.
Yes, I was wondering if each of you could commit to the question regarding the state and the federal Constitution. Do you consider yourself a strict constructionalist, an originalist, or do you come down the side that says the Constitution is a living document and constantly changing to match the changing times? And hopefully with a minimum of weasel words.
I don't like weasel words, so I'm not going to use them. I consider myself a strict constructionist. Our founding fathers were very smart in the manner in which they established our country and in the words that they chose and the rights that they gave to the people. The Constitution is to restrict the government and give the authority to the people. I do not believe that judges should legislate from the bench. We are where we are now because of judges legislating from the bench. That's not a judge's job. We are not lawmakers, we are decision makers in judicial positions.
I echo what my colleague has said. Our job is to uphold the law and uphold the Constitution above all else. Our founding fathers were very wise men, and when they could not agree, they stopped and they prayed. And they came up with a very wise, well-crafted document. That document worked well then, and it will and should work well now. I believe that my judicial philosophy is that of a strict constructionist. I have worked very hard over the last 25 years as a judge to uphold the Constitution, not always in the easiest of circumstances. And that's what I will continue to do on the Pennsylvania Supreme Court.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I have a quick question. In my philosophy, Roe v. Wade has created a travesty in our society, and I would like to know from both of you where you stand on the rights of the unborn.
Well, I think I made my position very clear. I believe that our Constitution or our Bill of Rights supports it. It guarantees the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Many people will say, especially on the other side of the fence, that Roe v. Wade is the law and that they will cite stare decisis. But stare decisis should never be used as a justification to perpetuate wrong. I personally compare Roe v. Wade with the Dred Scott case. In both of those cases, it was said that African Americans were less than human, that they were the personal property of their slave masters. And in Roe v. Wade, unborn children are less than human and are the personal property of the mother. In fact, I heard a candidate say the other night that a woman has a right to choose what she can do with her body. Yes, she does have a right to choose what to do with her body. She just doesn't have a right to choose to do what she wants with someone else's body.
I am pro-life. I just received the recommendation from the Pennsylvania Pro-Life Federation as a candidate to support, who honors and respects the sanctity of life. And I know Judge Allen also received their recommendation as well. So I am, I believe that Roe versus Wade was a travesty, and I am pro-life.
I also wanted to say that, you know, I serve on different boards, and one of the boards that I serve on that I'm most proud of in Allegheny County is the Women's Choice Network, where the choice is life. And we run 4 pregnancy care centers in Allegheny County.
We got another one from the floor.
Earl Evans, there's been a surge of cases popping up across the country, whether it be a gay bakery that refuses to put a Bible verse on a cake condemning homosexuality, or whether it be a Christian photographer or bars who refuses to participate in a gay wedding. If a case came to your court, do we have discrimination or do we have religious freedom?
As judicial candidates, we cannot say how we will rule on a case that will come before us. But I'm very familiar with the issue you're discussing, because in a neighboring town, Bloomsburg, there was a very large media surge after a bridal shop owner refused to provide services to a same-sex couple. I'm of the opinion that we have free will. God has given us free will. We are free to make choices as we see fit. However, I do not believe that certain groups of people have super rights or superior rights to other people. So it's a very fine line. Obviously, people can make choices in their personal lives, but they cannot force their choices on other people. And I don't think that someone should be able to steamroll over someone else's rights, including religious rights.
Our founding fathers, in drafting the Constitution, had in mind people who had come to this country escaping religious persecution. And so they drafted the First Amendment, which guarantees the right of religious freedom. And the whole purpose of the First Amendment is to protect the church, religion, from government, not the other way around. So liberals frequently talk about tolerance and how important it is. And I hate that word, but that's what they talk about. Tolerance is a two-way street. It's a two-way street. We have a right as Americans to religious freedom. The law has given people who are gay the right to marry. That's the law. But it's also the law that we have a right to religious freedom. And there is no reason why any group should attempt to force its views on another group. And when I say that, you know, if there are plenty of bakers and plenty of photographers